Good afternoon. So my favorite word, it's not train, it's complexity. In every business, there's a certain degree of complexity. And in financial services, there's quite a high degree of complexity. And in digital transformation in financial services, there's an exceptional amount of complexity. And I'm going to talk to you this afternoon about how the evolution of CR2's platform can help you manage that complexity. So we've heard from Augustine and from Henry and from Daniel and various others about some of the trends in the markets today. So we've heard about things like disintermediation, driven, I suppose, in the first instance by open banking, and then from derived business models like banking as a service, embedded finance journeys, and other, I suppose, ecosystem developments through the journeys. We've heard about the digitization of payments, essential in our business. We heard Henry tell us, the three key characteristics of money. It has a stable store of value, it's a unit of account, and it's a medium of exchange. And, as Fintan said, traditionally the banks have been more interested in the stable store of value aspect of it, but the consumers primarily are interested in money as the medium of exchange. Payments is a huge part of what we do, and the digitization of payments is another of the trends we see at the moment. The near future is headed that way. We've heard about some of the technology trends, the incorporation of the ecosystem into the services that we need to build out. For example, some of the work that Daniel was telling us about with the fintech foundries. But of course, there aren't just the near-term trends. There's also, you don't just need to deal with what's coming down the tracks in the next 5 years. You need to deal with what's there now as well. So there's a lot of existing capability within banks, a lot of existing customer journeys that have been built, a lot of services that are being rolled out, and that all needs to carry on while you simultaneously build out for the next step. And then, of course, we heard from Henry about the more distant future. We heard, it might involve cryptocurrencies, it might involve the metaverse. There's a number of elements there. And of course, as he pointed out, the crystal ball gazing business is quite a fraught business. It might be like that, but it might not be like that. So you need to insulate yourself against the potential future shocks as well, and be ready to take advantage of the changes that are coming down the line. And of course, we also heard the need to look from the outside in. What does the customer want? What the customer wants is a simple, seamless customer experience, and they're not too bothered how we go about creating that. But that can be a big ask. That is a difficult and complex job. So traditionally, we've seen in digital transformation, historically, it started out with the ATMs initially, which replaced the teller function. And then we had the second wave of it with the digital banking, where a number of relatively unsophisticated customer journeys were put on digital channels. So you had things like collecting viewing your balance, you collect it from the back office and present it, viewing your transaction history, maybe a certain amount of transfer and payment capability. But that's all expanded with the, on the one hand, the push from things like the global pandemic, which has pushed a lot of business online. And on the other hand, the technological capabilities have vastly increased. So now we're seeing journeys that had been, that had been face-to-face by necessity are increasingly moving online. And this has been greatly simplified for the customer. It's very easy to do things on your app, on your mobile phone. But the complexity persists. It doesn't go away, it's just moved. And where it's moved to is into your bank. Now that might be in terms of your organizational structure, it might be in terms of your processes, but primarily where that goes is into your technology. So when you look at the sorts of user journeys, what tends to happen is that there are a number of systems within the bank, and a user journey, it might be partly implemented in the channel, and it might be partly implemented in the integration layer, and it might be partly implemented in the supporting services layer, in the account systems, those sorts of things. And what that means is, as you need to add elements into that, if you want to add a new channel, you need to implement it across all of these 3 elements. Or if you wanted to add a new supporting element into a journey, you need to add it not just in the supporting service, but you need to then build it into the integration and into the channel. And it quickly becomes extremely complex. And our view of the solution to this is platform thinking. So we take the view that what you need is a platform that provides the capability to build user journeys at a single point, consolidated user journey, which will let you then expose that user journey through APIs. So you could expose it to your channels through APIs, and you can pull elements from your core systems or from the ecosystem or from fintech partners in through APIs to present that seamless user journey out to the customer. So you'd have, for example, typically the bank's infrastructure, that was traditionally, I suppose, the core account system, but as more and more services come online, it includes things like treasury, risk management, all sorts of things like that. You have your channels, which have, again, traditionally, I suppose, been the branch and the ATM, but now, of course, include the internet, mobile. We have extended channels like embedded finance journeys. We have chatbots. There's a plethora of channels. And, of course, we have the ecosystem partners. There's a number of them in today. We have players in the ID space, in risk management, and in NFC capabilities. There's a number of those sorts of options too. So to give you a concrete example of the sort of thing I'm talking about, if we look at a typical loan origination journey, this is quite stylized, obviously, but there'll be a number of steps in it. In this instance, there's 10 steps. So you'd capture the various attributes and artifacts of the consumer. So you'd capture their name, their address, a proof of ID, proof of address. You'd need to engage in various activities, like to check that they're not blacklisted, for example. You need to validate their address. You need to check their repayment capability. You need to check your own sector exposure for the macro risk management. And if all that checks out, you'd open an account. So what you can do with a platform, rather than building this into each of your channels and from each of your supporting systems, you build a single user journey, and then you capture the various artifacts through the channel and store them in the platform. And then to validate it, you call out from the platform to your ID specialist, for example, to validate the ID. And then you might call out to the bill aggregator to say, is this bill valid and is this the correct address on it? And then you might call out to another ecosystem player to see, are they blacklisted by the UN, or is it safe to offer them a loan? And then you might call out to your own core account system to say, can this person repay this loan? What's their income? What are their outgoings? What's their balance? These sorts of attributes. And then you might check your own internal risk management, say, what's our sector exposure? Have we already lent too many of this kind of loan to this kind of person, and really we don't want any more exposure there? And if all of that checks out, as I said, you then open an account in your core account system and present the results back out through the channel to the consumer. Now, the assumption here, I suppose, is that this is a single channel. You're doing this maybe on the mobile. But of course, there's no end of channels that you could be offering this service on with this approach. Because it's API-driven, you can simply present that service out through any channel. So that might be an embedded finance. You might, for example, have an agreement with a car dealership, and anyone can just originate a loan in that dealership. Or you might be doing it through open banking channels to offer loans in conjunction with other banks as part of a combined service. Or you might be running it over your own channels, such as chatbot, mobile branch. But in each case, you only had to build the service once to expose it to all of these. Sorry, slides missing there. Where's the back button? In this ecosystem as well as exposing to any number of channels, you can also bring in any number of elements. So if you decided in this user journey that you needed to bring in some service from forecasting into the service, this can be brought in through the API into the journey, built into the journey in the platform, and exposed seamlessly in the channel. But similarly, if you wanted to bring something in from the wider ecosystem, something that isn't within your bank, so say you wanted to bring in an insurance element into the user journey, again, this comes in through the API layer and is incorporated into the user journey using workflow and presented out into the channels. And this approach, this has a number of very powerful advantages. So if we think about what we can do when we've consolidated the user journey in this manner, on the one hand, we've simplified the technology landscape in that we now no longer have the spaghetti integration, and that in itself is a powerful benefit. With our particular approach, because we're not simply looking at the digital channels, we have a strong payments history at CR2. The payments business, it is, as we've heard, it's very important to your consumers. It's a very technical and a very complex business. It has a lot of certification requirements, a lot of integration requirements, and it's not something that's easy to pipe in from outside. So if you have a platform that incorporates native payment capabilities, that reduces the risk and reduces the time to market for any consumer service involving payments. What it also does, when we think about the disintermediation risks that we've heard about, if you own the payment journey, when you're dealing with, for example, embedded finance capabilities, rather than seeing that as a parallel journey where some fintech is essentially taking your customers and presenting their service and owning the customer, if you own the payment journey, embedded finance, as far as you're concerned, is just another channel. And of course, as I said, it's more secure. It's embedded in the platform, so when certifying it for things like PCI or any of these industry security certifications, you don't need to worry about the interfaces between your payment system and your user journey platform, because the two are encapsulated together, providing the complete security there. In terms of deployment, this is a composable API-led implementation. We're moving to a microservices architecture. So this means it's more flexible in terms of deployment. We can take pieces of the platform out, and we can replace them with different pieces that do a similar or a different function, depending on the needs. We can also, with the APIs, incorporate any elements as supporting services. So you might, for example, decide not to implement fees and limits in your platform. You might get a separate system for that, managed by some other party or managed by some other part of your bank, and plug that in through the APIs. So you can build in any individual pieces that you need to support the user journeys. The user journeys themselves are built using a workflow and digital tooling. So this gives you a low-code approach, which means that you've, again, faster time to market, better opportunities. But the key benefit for me from having the consolidated user journeys in this manner is around the data. We've heard from various speakers today about the value of data. We've heard Fintan say at the beginning that the banking business is really just a data business with a banking license. We've heard Augustin and we've heard Henry both speak at length about data. We've heard Daniel speak about it. Achieving insights from data is a difficult business in the banking business, because when you have disaggregated customer journeys, the data is scattered through various places. It's scattered through the channels, it's scattered through the integration layer, it's scattered through the supporting services, some of it's in the wider ecosystem. It's everywhere. But if you consolidate the user journeys in a platform like this, whenever the user interacts with any of your channels, with any third-party channel, that data flows through your system. You collect the telemetry from the channel, you have the user journey analytics, you have the business data in your platform. So all of this is consolidated in a single point, and that lets you bring out insights into the customer behavior. And what you could do from that, and this is, I suppose, a general theme that we've seen in digitization, Within digitization, it's an effect most commonly associated with Spotify. For those of you that use Spotify, you may have noticed you don't have as wide a taste in music as you used to. What people see in Spotify is people choose the music they like, and they don't see anything else. So before, you used to be exposed to the top 30 every Sunday morning, and you'd hear all sorts of things. You might not like most of it, but you knew it was there, and you had a broad range and a broad engagement with music. With Spotify, when you choose your own, you don't know what you don't see, and that's a real problem in the digital world in terms of engagement. We can present all these user journeys in the mobile app or in the internet or wherever it happens to be, but if users don't know what they don't see, it can be very difficult for them to engage. They can become alienated and view the bank simply as a commodity. So if you can pull actionable insights from their data and then use a campaign execution engine, which our platform includes, to produce targeted messaging, relevant messaging to engage with the customer, that gives you the ability to continue the engagement with the customer, to deal with this digital alienation, and to improve against your competitors. So to summarize, there are a number of trends driving the increasing complexity in the digital transformation business. And platform is the answer. It provides a very powerful user engagement. It's scalable. You can roll out any amount of new services without increasing the complexity of the system. It's adaptable. It's easy to build. It's easy to deploy and maintain. And it reduces the time to market. And it's composable. And we have a wealth of integration experience at CR2 and a wealth of integration capability built into the platform. And Isabella will talk to you now about the partner ecosystem that we also bring off the shelf. And this brings extended capability with a low time to market. So for all of these reasons, we feel we're reducing the complexity overall in your organization, and our platform is the bridge to the future for you. Thank you.